All right. All right, guys. So, what I do is I teach entrepreneurs how to be safer online because right now hacking is on the rise, identity fraud is on the rise, and thinking that it won't happen to you and relying on security through obscurity is not going to cut it anymore because this is happening to people every year with 851 million reports of ransomware last year, with 14.4 million reports of identity fraud, of which 63% were told that they would actually have to bear some of the responsibility for the fraud committed in their name. Thinking
That's
it won't happen
frightening.
to you is terrible, right?
And this is not a matter of if it's going to happen, right?
No, right now the expectation is that basically one in five Americans will be a victim of identity fraud in some way or another in the next 2 to 3 years. So
that is frightening.
Right now the expectations are that right now a new ransomware attack is executed every 21 seconds in the U.S. The FBI estimates that by 2022 it'll be down to every 13 seconds.
Goodness.
And this is happening to I do this for a living, right? And I help people with this, and I have big businesses that get hit by it and want help, and I have like 2-person mom and pop shops that get hit by this and want help. And so they're not.
And how do they get affected by it? What happens to their life when this happens?
Well, all your data's gone.
Can you still access your bank?
Well, you could probably still access your bank if you know the password to it, but any of your files, like if you keep your passwords in a spreadsheet, guess what? Those are gone. And now, obviously, it's not unrecoverable because you can always, as long as you still have access to your email, you can go to every site that you can think of and you can hit forgot my password. Okay. But I'm like, sure. So you think, okay, that's not a big deal. And if time is of no concern to you, then that's okay. If you have 3 hours to spend resetting all of your passwords,
who's got that?
Then more power to you, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to have a robust system that will prevent a lot of these attacks and a lot of these hacks, then
so this could affect everything. It could affect everything, like your mortgage payment, your phone bill, your every account that's going off your bank.
Well, that's exactly the thing, right? Like, especially with identity fraud, which, as I said, is on the rise. The problem is that even if you even if your bank says that you're not going to be responsible for any of the fraud committed in your name, the problem is that, if someone locks up your bank account or maxes out your credit card and you miss a car payment or you miss a mortgage payment or something, well, they're not going to care that the other bank doesn't care that there was a fraud investigation going on. Yeah. They're like, we want our money.
It's your
right?
problem.
And so the knock-on effect from that is your problem, right?
Yeah.
And so even if you end up getting your money back, in some cases, it can be too late. I
want to tell you something about that happened in the UK here. And it's actually why I connected with you originally. There was a lady, a reporter, that I read what happened to her. So she lost her phone number in a SIM swap fraud. You might think it's really hard to steal someone's phone number, but it's in 3 steps. You can take over someone's phone account. Very simple to do. And the problem is it's a rising case of fraud. So people will then steal your phone number once they know what it is, and then they'll phone your bank acting as if they're you and asking them to reset your one-time password to a new phone number. So the risk of using your actual phone for securing your bank account is becoming more of a problem. And there is a way to solve it. But I'd like to get back to what you were onto earlier about this identity fraud. So can you tell us a bit more about what happens to this person's life when their identity is stolen? It sounds really painful.
Well, I mean, it is. You go to buy a new car, right? You go to buy a new car and they run a credit check and they reject you. And you're like, what are you talking about? I pay my credit card bills. They're like, yeah, but you just bought a boat in Florida and you just bought a beach house in California. And you're like, what are you talking about? I didn't do any of those things. But guess what? Someone did. Someone did as you.
Yeah. And it's something that's happening. You know, I heard another scary story regarding someone's house in Bristol in the UK. England's got some pretty old ways of working in terms of the way the title to your goods is managed. And not a lot has changed in the last 600 years, it seems. It's a pretty archaic society, especially in banking and payments. And this lady went on holiday to Greece. Someone came to her house and they put a fake post box over her post box on her front door so that they could collect the post that went in her post box. They changed her title at the land registry by getting the code for the authority on the title sent to their property. She came back and she found other people in her house, and took her 6 months to get her property back and tens of thousands of pounds in legal costs. So it's really important that people pay attention to what you're saying about security, about your data and your information. It's becoming critical.
And as I said, I said, you said 3 steps, and it really is that easy. I mean, in the U.S., anti-competition laws mean that it's actually illegal for a carrier to block porting of your number. So all an attacker has to do is get enough information about you to convince a new company that you're you, and get the right information to basically swap your phone number to a new carrier. So say you're with T-Mobile, they go to Verizon with information about you, like say your home address and your birthday, which is the 2 pieces of information that most entrepreneurs are probably leaking online right now. And
who doesn't say it's their birthday on Facebook, right?
Well, that's exactly it, right? And it seems all well and good because Facebook is like about sharing with friends, right? But do you know everybody that you're friends with on Facebook?
It's one of the reasons I have a fake date of birth on Facebook.
So, but there are other ways you can control it. If you still have real life friends on Facebook, you can absolutely let them know your birth. My supposition is that at no point does anybody need to have your birth year published on Facebook to anyone but only me, right? Because nobody cares. Like, if someone's really trying to troll you, they can scroll through your feed and they can find someone wishing you happy 40th or 45th or 50th birthday. But like, I'm crazy about that. I reply to everyone's birthday messages. I delete them because I'm that guy, right? But But so for SIM swaps, like all they do is you're with T-Mobile, they go to Verizon, they go, oh man, I lost my phone, and so can you just activate my SIM? And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'd love to. Is it you're a new customer? We'll do anything to get a new customer. So just give us the information you need to swap the phone. And so they go, okay, well, here's my address, here's my phone number, here's my birthday. And Verizon submits a port request. Now, the trick is because of anti-competition laws, it's illegal for T-Mobile to block that request. All they do is they send you a text like, hey, someone is trying to port your number, and you have literally 10 minutes to respond.
Yeah.
And if you don't see that text message and respond in 10 minutes, and some companies don't even do that much, but the answer is that then your number's gone, and it's on their phone. And now what are they doing? They're going to sign into every account. They're going, forgot my password. The company goes, okay, we'll just send you a text. So they get the text, they type it in, and bam, now they own you. Right?
So if you wanted to stop that happening, could you use a VoIP number to mask your real number for certain services? So like if you gave a voice over IP number to your bank, there are places like, there's a crowd in the States called Telnyx, TELNYX.
Or in the US, you can even get a Google Voice number.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That would work, but because banks are archaic and banks generally will only allow you to use SMS to enforce two-factor authentication, which is just mind-boggling to me. But
I think it's got to stop.
Yeah,
and I sell SMS.
It has to.
For a living.
Yeah.
So I do think passwords on SMS really are bad.
It's definitely it's better than nothing.
That's
but,
true.
But it's basically, I posted an article just the other day about like basically how everyone needs to just stop using SMS for marketing, and there are other applications out there. You've got Authy, the Google Authenticator, everything. These time-based one-time password apps that are not vulnerable to that type of attack. If you're really secure, you can get something like a YubiKey, which you have to plug into your computer, which holds your key. I mean, there are far more secure ways to protect your accounts, and people either need to know about them or learn about them, because there's just not enough people using it. I mean, you just look back at, if you want an example of how bad people are with passwords, all you have to do is look back to the launch of Disney Plus, right? Because within 2 weeks of Disney Plus being launched, there were over 10,000 accounts for sale on the internet. And why do you think that was?
Everyone's password was password.
Because, well, it wasn't even necessarily that everyone's password was password. Your password could be something fantastic, but the problem is, if you use that password in Disney Plus and you also use it for Bob's Comfy Doggy Beds,
yeah, well, exactly.
Guess what?
Yeah.
When Bob's Comfy Doggy Beds gets hacked, what is the first thing the hackers do? They go, "Oh, I've got an email address and a password for this site. This is a crappy site," but they know that people are crappy with passwords, right? So what do? They go, "Let's try it on Amazon. Let's try it on PayPal. Let's try it on Disney Plus. Let's try it on your bank. Let's try it on anything they can find. Let's try it on Facebook. Let's try it on Instagram. Let's try it on Twitter to see where it'll stick." And more often than not, the answer is that for a lot of people, it absolutely will stick somewhere, and that's what happened with Disney Plus. They talked about Disney Plus being hacked. No.
It's just people being stupid.
These were individuals who were reusing passwords, and so all of a sudden your account's gone.
It's not that people are stupid. I think it's that they're just lazy. They don't want to change.
Yeah, I mean, and part of that was driven by, until recently, the best practice for passwords was that you change them every 90 days, and that's with further research, even NIST came out and said, well, that, like, we've thought about it, and that was actually sort of a terrible idea.
Because run out of ideas for passwords.
Well, that's exactly it. Is that what would happen? Is that people would be forced to change their passwords, and so the first they had password 1, and they're like, "Oh God, I got to change my password again." Okay, password 2, right? Or they increment the number, or they do they make some small change, but it doesn't make their, like, if password 1 is your password, the hackers are going to try password 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, they're going to try all of the surrounding passwords if they have an old password for you. And that's what the problem is, that when you go on to something like Have I Been Pwned, they collect lists from the dark web, and the problem is, on the dark web there are just huge reams and reams of lists of email addresses and passwords. And so what the hackers are doing is they're taking an email address and a password, and they're just working from that password and working sort of like a cloud outwards of, like, what could this password morph into? So they replace vowels with numbers. They increment the number on the end. They add a piece of punctuation, whatever. But just starting from that old password, because more often than not with people, that's going to hit at some point, and then they're in.
So yeah, it's a really serious problem. So Brian, I want to thank you for just having a few minutes to chat today.